Aloha, Flow Riders, and welcome to the flow. What's cracking?
I'm behind the scenes going, trying to get
Yo,
myself all psyched up. I'm ready. I'm
you
ready for
know,
the flow.
yeah, something Jill and I were talking about recently, because there was a question that had come into the community, like, what do you do, like, to get live, and like, what about that, split second
Oh,
gap between when Ecamm goes, and then it takes a second for YouTube to catch up, and I was like, everybody doesn't just already be moving or whatever, but I guess comes to find out, there's people that sit there like this and
oh,
then try to say
funny.
something when it starts. And I'm like, oh no, because that's just going to catch you every time because there's no exact same amount of seconds, right? It's
Yeah.
the internet. So from the time it catches to the time it catches, none of your business. It's just what the servers do. So it's better to already be moving and kind of like into your groove. And then when it comes on, you're just like, hey. So
See,
yeah,
that's
and it's
why
funny.
count
Yeah.
everyone gives a hard time about countdown timers, but that does make it easier. Then when it kicks off, like you're on, everyone can see you. Because we did this workshop last week, so shout out to the incredible Jeff C for running this workshop. But we did just like a cold, like we just jumped in. There was no countdown or intro music or anything else that kind of kicked off, which is fine. But it was that kind of game where I was like, you can see Ecamm is like, you're live in the broadcast, but Jeff wasn't talking, and I was like, okay, we're not live yet. Just smile. Maybe we're live. Maybe we're not.
Yeah, so
And
when
then
Ecamm
go.
says you're live, just start talking
Yeah.
because what's
Yeah.
happening, you're not going to notice that in YouTube until way later, and so
Yeah.
when you get to YouTube, you will have seen the gap, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing I was telling Jill was funny to me is I don't care how long you watch anything that has to do with television, unless it's a completely edited show, there's always that. So whether it's Stephen Colbert or
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel or whomever, like they have the benefit of the audience clapping it in,
Yeah.
right? But for the most part, sports, everything, there's always a split second gap because there's no way to perfect that even in tape. Before we were doing like, quote unquote internet level broadcasting. Nobody cares, bro. Like they came to see
We
you.
should
Like no one's gonna
do
miss 2 seconds are
clap
off. Like
in.
yeah,
That would be
yeah.
fun.
So I like starting out like this,
Yeah.
or like like pumped up, or Loria's dancing,
Yeah.
or Jill and I are normally singing something when it comes on. Yeah,
Yeah.
just let it flow, people. Nobody cares. Stop stressing yourself out over nothing because it doesn't matter.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
try doing that from here on out. I'm just gonna get the sound effect of a live studio audience clapping. And I'm gonna be like,
That's
I'm here, I'm here.
Yeah, that's actually funny, right? If your first scene was confetti and clapping, no matter what, that at least gives you 3 seconds
Oh,
to know that it kicked off. That would
yeah.
be actually funny.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're like Stephen Colbert. Here, I'm popping out the chat before we go because I like to put it on a different screen.
Yeah, I
Yay!
have it
Okay.
ready to go. All right, I'm ready when you are.
All right,
Now that
let's
we've
go. Let me breathe it out. All right, this is gonna be a good one because this is when you put this in the notes. I was like, yo, this is my everyday. This is what I do. So I
I know.
love when you did this. This is
We put in the
exactly how I
notes
roll.
about how this episode is a no notes episode. So I'm gonna try really hard not even to look at the notes. No
That's
notes
funny.
episode.
Now
Yeah.
that you say that, it just hit me totally different. See, I didn't even think about it like that. All right, I want to count it out. I'm looking for. I have the sneezies. I'm looking for
Uh-oh.
my
Uh-oh.
tissue before it happens.
Check it out. Check
It's
it out. Check
coming.
it out. It's
It's coming.
coming. Scare it out. Ah!
Oh my God, Karen, where's the damn tissues? Lady, you're not allowed to move the tissue box. All right, we're just gonna have to fake it. Everyone sneeze
That's
into
all
my
right.
shirt. Okay,
That's all right.
here we go. Count it down in 5, 4. Aloha, Flow Riders, and welcome to this edition of The Flow. I am your host, Doc Rock, along with my awesome co host.
Hey everyone, it's Katie.
One of these days, 116 episodes later, I'll stop laughing at that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, Katie, what are we talking about today?
So if you have been hanging out with us, we had a special guest on 2 weeks ago, Bruce, and tomorrow, September 10th, is going to be the first day of his podcast. So we're going to hold him accountable. But he asked a follow-up question after that episode, which was, how do you do this thing without being so reliant on notes and without kind of feeling like you need to have this really set outline? Like, how do you make it feel like a great experience without it being so, canned and reading it off of a teleprompter or all of those details. So we're going to talk a little bit about notes and outlines and scripts today, and some tactics and things that you can do to try to be a little bit less attached to those if you're one of those people that needs a script or an outline to help make the content a little bit better. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good one.
Okay, so I got a big one. Let's start with the first simple one. You ready?
Yeah, go.
I don't even know if folks is ready for this.
Doc is ready for this episode. All right, let's bring it. Bring it.
Who cares if you read the freaking teleprompter? I don't. I can't do it. It's impossible. Just can't do it. But who cares? Like, you watch TV every day where the entire situation is read off of a teleprompter. I love Seth Meyers. Seth Meyers, one of the greatest. Let's run this back even deeper to Seth Meyers. I absolutely 110%, everybody over 50, I know you're with me, loves SNL.
Yep.
You know what they do on SNL? Read the telecard. They got gigantic poster cards. So much so that they involve the card holding people into the show sometimes, because they're like, hey, move your hand so I can read the rest of the line. Okay, and they just let it go. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Now, that said, I don't read off a teleprompter, but that's just because I can't. Somewhere between ADHD and inability to see good, I just can't do it. So I just want to let people, if you have to read, let it go. Read. So what? If the information is valuable, nobody cares. If the information sucks, doesn't matter if it's scripted or not. Like, the information sucks. So there's that.
Sorry. No, I think you're absolutely right. And as you were talking, I was just thinking, oh my goodness, this is the moment, because I got years back a giant cutout, like a life-size, human-size cutout of Zac Efron from High School Musical era. And he's been just up in my attic, scaring people, basically. But I was like, oh, I could bring him down and I could attach like a giant cue card to him and put him like behind my camera. It would really make my my intros and outros hilarious.
Yeah,
but
your bullet points.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good idea. If you cut it out and then put a whiteboard back there and put your bullet points on the whiteboard, it looks like he's holding the key. Oh my God. That would be legit.
More to come on that later. But I do think so. A couple of things. So this particular topic, and this is like not a great topic for Doc, because as he said, he's just gonna do it. So you will take his voice and my voice, and somewhere in between you will find your voice, and we will be great. But this particular topic comes from people like Bruce, like myself in early days, like many of you out there, where again, we're overthinking it. We're all overthinking it. So let's just accept that. But it's this starting point of, I know I need to do video. I don't have that level of confidence yet. I haven't convinced myself to be confident yet. So I'm hiding behind presentation notes. I'm hiding behind scripts, etc. And I will say, you are right. Like, you absolutely can just read it. But there is something about, like, I'm sitting here reading my teleprompter and I'm nervous and I'm stumbling over the words because I know I just need to say these words. That's not an engaging experience either. So we're trying to step away from over reliance on notes, on presentation slides that isn't serving us, when really, in many cases, we should just be ourselves, front and present, having, a valuable, helpful conversation, getting through the content without worrying so much about saying the exact words that you planned, or about putting everything on screen, right? So I think, and so in my over planning for this episode, I did have this, I love this this point that the AI tools helped me to create, which is thinking about it from reading mode versus connection mode. So when we're thinking about notes and scripts and outlines, we're thinking about reading mode, right? We're thinking about, like, oh, this is all the content that I want to be able to get out there to everyone. I want to make sure that I have a good episode, good presentation, good piece of content. You're in kind of that reading mode. And there does need to be a switch over before you actually record the video, do the show, stream the episode, whatever, where you do switch into connection mode, where hopefully the content well enough that you really should be focused instead on connecting with people who are watching and spending time with you on the other side, and not thinking so much about the reading mode. So we've been on, you and I, Doc, this journey over the last few episodes of talking a little bit more about, like, improv, public speaking, um, confidence, all of this. And so I do think like the more we can push ourselves a little bit outside of the box, and the more that we get, the more that we just do it, as Doc was saying, whether it's reading or not having notes, or doing an entire episode, the more comfortable and confident you're going to get with this as well. So, but it is that shift over between your planning and your outline and all of that, and delivering in a way that is focused on connection and not necessarily on getting it right, right? It's not about getting
Yes.
it right. It's about connecting with people. So we need to shift our brain into that space when we get ready to record or we get ready to live stream our show.
Ain't that some shift? Okay, listen, I got one quick one for you. I want to take this away from everybody because I'm the Grinch and I just want to steal it. I want everyone here to forget comfortable. And I know
Yep.
that sounds weird, but I want you
Yep.
to forget comfortable because comfortable is a statement of cognitive distortion.
Yep.
Not uncomfortable gives you space.
Mm-hmm.
Comfortable is a finite. Like when when you get everybody been here, you get home from work, long ass day, crack that 40, sit on the couch and be like, now you're comfortable. Don't want to be moved, right? You can't obtain that when you get to your bed after long ass travel. You've been away from home. You've been up every morning with Katie eating breakfast that's way too greasy. The eggs kind of hard, but you know what? You're kicking it with your peoples. And you got a 21-hour flight from wherever the frick Katie sent me to home. When I walk into the house and drop that suitcase off and go in that shower, when I get in that bed, I'm just like, I can't repeat that in this chair. So you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get somewhere in this chair you cannot possibly get. So you're setting your brain up to look for something because everybody's mouth like to yip that word, but your brain can't get there in this chair with this Sony looking at me, and then the weird Puerto Rican dude pressing buttons and the Canadian lady looking at me. I cannot get what I get in the bed. So that sounded really off. Don't go there. However, I can be less uncomfortable, and that gives you space. So let me give everybody space. There is no such damn thing as comfort when it comes to this. Because
Yep.
if you ask Taylor if she's comfortable when she steps on stage, no, she's not. But she performs 3 shows a night, 5, 6, 8 years in a row. So you know what I mean? She goes out there, she does her thing. Stop trying to get to somewhere you can't get. That will help you. And then you mentioned one other thing about reading mode to whatever. Hey, I don't know. I have been, and I wonder if anybody else has been in a situation where you've been given the purpose of doing a presentation that's not even yours because the person that was supposed
Mm-hmm.
to do it sick, ran away, kids did something, you're filling in for someone, whatever. I don't even think there's anything wrong with, all right, people, listen, let me read this part to you because this is super important and I got to make sure we cover this and then we'll discuss it. Just preference it, right? Because like Flo said, few people want to be read to in a webinar, or masterclass, etc. Most of them can read for themselves. And guess what we
Yep.
do? Every time we pop a comment on screen, we read the comment and then
Yep.
we react to it. You should read the comment so that number one, that person feels seen. And number two, you make sure that you say their words verbatim instead of kind of miss what they say. And sometimes, because I'm terrible at it, sometimes I got to read the comment 3, 4 times before I can get it right in my head before I
Same.
respond to it.
Yep.
Right. And so that concept, and I love you mentioned that reading mode versus presenting mode. Even in the news, Nicole Wallace is one of the best at this. She will read the statements verbatim from the card, and then she will
Mm-hmm.
lift her head and give you Nicole's take on it.
Yep.
Right? You watch anybody on the news. This happens daily. This is what has to be done because that's how they deliver. And if it's a situation, and I'm going to say this last thing, and I'll stop shutting up. Um, if you walk into the doctor's office and the doctor's going to tell you about something complicated that's say going on with your kidneys, I don't feel any less different if the doctor was to sit there and tell me everything he had in his head versus the doctor pulled up the book and go, let me read this to you real quick so you can understand what's going on inside your body and then we'll discuss it after. And he went
Mm-hmm.
through and, read me a quick chapter and verse about my adrenal cortex not doing what the heck it's supposed to do. I don't feel like this doctor doesn't know what he's talking about because he had the book. I would feel better because you know what mistakes happen in the hospital? The cocky ass doctors that refuse to admit that they're wrong, right? So if he had the providence in his hand, I might take that information more than assume he don't know what he's talking about. So it's how you set your brain up for how you look is how you look, right? It's that joke. I'm not fat. I'm just squeezable. It's your how you address it, how you address it. And Rich, don't text me. Sorry, I'm gonna do not. I'm in sleep mode. How does Rich get past sleep mode?
Rich just
That's
figured
crazy.
out how special and important he is. You did that
All right,
live. Rich is
Rich,
like,
you
I'm the
made
best.
Rich is on VIP.
Rich is on VIP. Yeah, I will say I have learned a few things about myself over the last few weeks, even actually. So,
Do
so
tell.
here at Ecamm, we've Caleb, the incredible Caleb, who is our email wizard and our lead
You can
funnel
just leave it at wizard.
person. I like, yeah, all things wizard. Helped us to put together this quiz. So if you want to take it, if you haven't taken it yet, you go quiz.ecam.com, and it helps you kind of figure out what your content creator personality type is, which is A, fun, and B, it'll give you a bunch of helpful information. I totally thought in taking this, I was like, I'm 100% a planner. I've always defined myself as a planner. I'm a type A kind of crazy person. I'm a planning person. But over the last couple of weeks, I have been spending more time with myself in content creation mode, and I've been getting ready for a bunch of different events. And I've did this workshop with Jeff C last week where he went through all of the content, that his whole workflow and how he lays and plans everything out. It became really apparent to me that I'm not a planner. The quiz told me that I'm actually a presenter. And what that actually means has become very obvious to me in the last couple of weeks, where I formulate a plan. So like, I know today we were going to talk about notes and scripts and all of that. Once I have the plan, and usually I'm using like ChatGPT or different tools to help me figure out the plan. I'm like, hey, this is what my show is about. This is the kinds of questions I've been getting. Bruce sent me in this question. Now that you know this information about me, what would you suggest for an outline for this episode? Like, I am constantly having conversations with my AI robot friends to give me ideas and outlines and all of that. Once it gives me the outline, then I'm going through the process of putting the outline into creating the show notes and the description and the title, double checking that those are SEO friendly and discoverable on YouTube and different players. I'm dropping it into our Milanote, which we've shown you in the past, which is kind of our planning tool, so that Luis and Doc know generally what the outline is, any important things we want to be able to talk about for the episode. So I'm doing all of these steps because I'm a planner in my mind, right? I'm checking all of these different boxes. When it comes time to the actual recording of the episode, live streaming the episode, I haven't looked at that document in probably a day. Maybe I glance it in the morning. I have it open right now, right? And I have all of these notes, all my bullet points, some scripted lines, like I have it all in here. But at that point, by the time that I get to the recording day, and this is true for both the shows I do and for presentations that I do, this is true across the board. I now have spent so much time with this content in researching it, in knowing what the question was I'm trying to answer, in thinking, in putting it in all the different places to check all of the boxes, that I actually don't really need the notes because I know the content anyway. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this show. And I've now spent so much time with the content that I know generally, like, we're going to get it out. There's going to be questions that come up. So I don't need to worry about the notes as much. Part of this might just be my presenter brain. And I'm maybe this is not the best way that works for everyone, but it did get me thinking, like a couple of episodes ago where we had Michael on from Ultra Speaking. It's a similar sort of process that he was talking about, where it's like, okay, if you're a script person and you're hiding behind a script, or you feel like you need to have that as a safety blanket, as a comfort state of mind, fine. But I would challenge you to try taking that and spending a bunch of time with it, whether it's practice recording, whether it's saying it out loud, the techniques and tactics he tried, or if it's like me and you're just using that content to check all of the boxes in your process, to get all the assets ready to promote it, to to kind of get it out to the rest of your team. But the more time you spend with that content, the more it is in your brain in the back. And then just let it go when it comes to the actual day of recording it. And tools like Ecamm also make it really, really easy. We don't do it in this episode or in this show, but you can put those little visual cues on screen, whether that's like maybe it's the question, maybe it's like the full question, like Doc said, you can read it out loud. Maybe it's just a little graphic, maybe it's a GIF, maybe it's a transition, maybe it's just that you've labeled the scene that so you can look over and be like, oh, okay, yeah, great. I'm going to move on to that next thing. But all of those things can serve as simplified notes without needing a full bulleted list, without needing a script, without needing kind of these over the top things that might just add extra stress. So I realized this about myself that like I have a plan, but at some point in my process, I actually let that go. And I'm really proud of like I let that go because I just want to be me. I want to be able to respond to comments that are coming through. I don't want it to feel overly scripted. So I just at some point I'm like, well, I've spent a bunch of time with it. Am I going to hit every single thing in my notes? Nope. but are we going to get the content across? Yep, because I know what the reason behind that piece of content is. I know we need to answer Bruce's question and his concern over what do I do? I want to be on the camera more. I know I want to be present more. I want to for it to feel more authentic and more real and less planned and scripted. So how do we help someone like Bruce get to this end result? So
I like it.
that's what I realized over the past couple of weeks about myself.
Here's something that I do, and you mentioned this idea of like placing elements on screen that can help
Mm-hmm.
you get there. There's also like visual anchors. Sometimes for me, the visual anchors are just various things on the desk,
Yep.
right? Like I'll put things in a particular place where I can see them, and then that sort of helps. And another thing that I like to do is if I have my bullet points and my bullet points are set, and I know what I'm going to say. I will still take the time and I write them down in this little here field notes book, right? So I have
Ooh,
these
love it.
everywhere. Yo, there's
Yep.
there's about 75 of these joints in my house floating in various places, and I carry one with me all the time. And so I'll put down my bullet points there because one thing that we've forgotten because we've are so digital now, pen to paper is a deeper anchor to your brain,
Yep.
scientifically proven, whatever.
Yep.
When you're typing it out, and I mentioned this in a video day or two or yesterday or whatever, when you're typing it out, the reason why it doesn't anchor in your brain as much is because of backspace, delete, highlight, erase, do it again, erase, do it again. All of that editing takes away from the anchoring. When you pen the paper, even if you have to make a mistake and scratch it out, when you rewrite it again, you are anchoring those statements into your head. So a lot of times, even if it's just a little wee post-it note, I'll take my little post-it note doohickey right here, and yes, I 3D printed it, right? I'll put my little stencil in there, I'll draw a bunch of lines, and I'll write my bullet points there, and I'll stick it there. I might never read them, but they're there, right?
Yep.
But because I took the time to write it down, I set it a little bit tighter in my brain. And so, if nothing else, just take a random piece of paper. You don't need a fancy field notes book. You just need a pen and a piece of paper and write them down. And Katie's brilliant point about taking a small whiteboard or large whiteboard and placing it behind your camera and writing your bullet points on the whiteboard right above you would probably serve you even better than, say, the teleprompter because I find it's probably better for people if they can see themselves and
Yep.
the way the Elgato teleprompter works, which is what everybody bought because everybody listened to us, it
Mm-hmm.
does not do a good job of allowing you to see yourself through the screen, right? So, in other words, the words are moving above my face, but I can still see my face, which is actually even harder. But if you're like that, you need to download an app like the guys we met at Kit. What are they called? Teleprompter Pro,
Yeah.
Prompter Pro,
Prompter
Teleprompter Pro.
Pro. Yeah.
Teleprompter Pro. I'm trying to work with them to see if I can get something rigged up in Ecamm. I had a brilliant idea for them. Sit on that. We've been talking about it, but I think it's better if you're just looking at the words and the way the Elgato does it, where it's just a black screen or whatever, and then your words are scrolling by. You're too busy trying to make those perfect. Whereas if you could just put those words there and have in light, overlay that is you, that's one thing. Now, I just thought of something. Now that you said this, I just came up with a plan. If you are doing a recorded video and you set your ISOs up, and you don't mind the fact that your ISO is going to be 1080, you can take the Ecamm output that would normally be going, say, live, and you could put the bullet points on the screen as if they are semi-transparent, or just put them on the screen and then look at yourself in the prompter, and you could read that. You can still see you. You can still read that, but the recording of the A camera is just raw. So when you drop it into your editor, no one's gonna know. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about that till just now. I've been using Ecamm for since Jesus walked in Nazareth. What the hell? I just thought of that. So there you go. There's another way to crack that egg if you wish.
I think I'm also watching to the incredible comments that are coming through. And so one of the comments was that like live speeches and things like this, different formats of different content might require different levels of scripting, which I think is absolutely right. I think like how,
Yes.
something like this where it is a live show, or I would argue even, even a podcast that isn't live, that's recorded, is a little bit, tends to be a little bit more conversational, and the expectation is really different. So being able to like glance up and down and getting used to just kind of redirecting your eyes back to the camera, but also allowing yourself to look down at the comments or like look in different ways, that actually I think makes the video better in some ways, because you come across as less robotic. You can tell that you're in the space. Doc is typing, we're chatting, we're having this like larger conversation that's bigger than just the two of us, and that is part of the show and of the promise that we're setting forward to everyone. So I
Yeah.
think getting kind of giving yourself that permission and just practicing that, like getting used to being like, okay, I'm glancing back up and I'm looking down, I'm glancing back up again, I'm looking down, like it again, you're going to get more, the muscle memory of doing some of these things is just going to help you get better at them as time goes forward, versus if you are, maybe you're trying to record something that's a little bit more polished and you have, much more specific notes, then yeah, like maybe you do want to be able to try out these different tactics or techniques of having, bullet visual anchors or bullet points in much more of an obvious place. Like even if you're sticking them right under your camera or you're leveraging a teleprompter, I think, I think that that's fine as long as you give yourself permission that if you don't say everything exactly the way as you planned it, or you stumble over a word, or your brain takes you off into a different direction based on something that someone says, or something that you think of, give yourself permission to just be in that moment and trust yourself that you know the content well enough that it's going to be okay, versus doing what I am 100% guilty of, which is just like doing this, panicking, hitting the end button, shutting it down, right? Shut it down. That's my definite, go-to move when things don't go wrong. And when my brain tells me, oh, you didn't do that correctly, so turn it off, shut it down. Doing that is worse than if you had just bumbled your way through and then gotten to an endpoint you could edit or tweak or do something with later. Um, and hiding behind a presentation is also not the greatest in the day of video, where other people are showing their faces and are engaging with their audience and are creating better presentations that feel more human, right? We're living in an AI world, so you on camera showing yourself, including your mistakes, is way more valuable to people than just a keynote or PowerPoint presentation going by that they can read as they go. So
You
um
you just said something super funny. Your brain just takes you somewhere different. Me, no, never. What are you talking about?
never, never,
uh,
never.
Ephraim Work Pro said something very, very on point, and it just caught me right away. I am often talking to you guys with this Sharpie in my hand. Um, and the reason for that is I guess it's an anchor, right? It is
Yeah.
one of those anchors. It's like Linus with the blanket or something. It
Yeah.
is an anchor. And you often see a lot of your TV hosts that are cruising with the Sharpie in their hand. And I also noticed something that I've done myself that they often do too, is you have your notes and you get to something that you wrote, but it's taking you somewhere else because the feel came. You just take your Sharpie and just line it out right there. And that feels relieving because it doesn't matter that I'm going to skip this next point because I think I found a better way to say it or whatever. So that
Yep.
gives you a chance to sort of reset and re-anchor. And I have even done this on camera before. It was like, I don't even know what the heck I wrote in my notes. Let me cross this part out and let me go to this instead. This is way better. Right. And that, again, that feels real. So allow yourself, first of all, nobody thinks you don't have notes. Nobody's that dumb. Right. when you watch a show on TV or a movie, right? I was going to ask this question earlier. I forgot how I had it formulated in my head, but it was like, what is acting? I mean, those are 112% scripted,
Yep.
unless you have the actors who famously constantly go off script and they show that stuff a lot. But what you can do, especially what Daryl said, is looking around, right? So you could take some of your bullet points and put them on, I would say, 6x9s,
In
right? You
different
know,
places.
the
Yeah.
big cards, and
Yeah.
put one on this monitor, one on
Yeah.
this monitor, one on this monitor. And so that way you could do what I often do on camera is I'm looking up, but I'm looking up because I am building a sentence as I talk. If I do one of these when I'm talking, I'm building the sentence as I talk instead of I already knew what I was going to say,
Yep.
right? And so if you put the notes there, and again, like a stack of those cards is what, $5 on Amazon or Michaels or whatever, the big size, or cut scrap paper in half. And then, yeah, just put it there. So you got your point there, and then you can come over here. You have your point there. Just make sure you're addressing the mic properly. But yeah, put your bullet points in 3 or 4 places. Completely done all the time in stage. On stage, it's there. And oftentimes, what an actor will do out of pure comfort, they will put the script like right at the camera. They can't even read it. It's just a comfort level of knowing
Yep.
that the script is there,
It's there. Yeah.
that they're perfectly fine with that. But there's no way from upstage they can read that script, but it's just a comfort level of knowing it's there and it's an anchor to them that they know their lines. So all of the above. It was such a great conversation, and I love what Daryl said. Is you're not a news anchor, dude. It's the internet, bro. Nobody cares, bro. Like I have done this too. Rich will tell you, I'll be sitting here with my notes and I'll be like, all right, I got this on my notes because I have to make sure that I say this. And then I go da 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 da, and then just go back to talking.
Hmm.
Like, I think let's stick to overthinking it. And and again, I really don't want to make that. I don't want to make that feeling that you feeling seem belittling, right? Because I get cursed at all the time for that, but it's not that. And I have a better way to say it now, right? I've never used this sentence until like yesterday, but it's okay that you feel that way. Okay, let's start there. Like I always used to say, your excuses are valid, so what? But the nicer way is, it's okay you feel this way, but you need to know this. You don't have to feel that way forever.
Hmm.
So the bigger question is, what are you going to do to fix it?
Yep.
And then
I
so the
love
first
that.
thing is, let it go, right? And the second thing is, you won't feel this way for long,
Yep.
right? At every new job you start, you feel a little bit weird for like a week or two. After that, you and Rich are hanging out at lunch, sneaking off to Chili's to take shots, and then come back and be like, we got to deal with Stacy. Stacy's tripping. Okay, this is a 2-shot lunch? All right, dude, 2 shots. All right, let's go. And we get all those shots in, and then we go back. And now we're cool as a pool. You leaning on the water cooler, like, what's his name, Bloomberg? Yeah, them TBS reports. Okay. Like, now you're cool with everybody. But of course, you feel awkward that first couple of weeks at a new school, new job, new house, new location, new car, even. You get a brand new car, you know what you're doing. Later, you drive in without even thinking, right? So you can feel that way in the beginning, but you won't feel that way for long. And the best way to get over those feelings is to keep doing it.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, the cool thing about it is that there's so many different ways these days to make it easier on yourself. So like as we were saying, you can put your like visually put your bullet points, not your whole script or your notes, but your bullet points in a place that gives you some level of comfort to glance at when you need to. So whether that's you want to be able to, put them as visual anchors within Ecamm, like so that they just pop up and like, oh, okay, now I'm diving into this part. Put little gifs and fun things that fly in and out and add some interest and some engagement to your presentation, or as we said, label your scenes so like which is going next, if you're not ready to do something bigger or something more important. But I do think getting into the habit and building up that muscle memory of this is how I show up on camera in a way that's comfortable to you is a great starting point, certainly. I want to talk a little bit too about, and this is something I'm actually just not great at myself. When we get nervous, whether we're on stage in front of someone or we're here, in a virtual setting and we're trying to create content, we tend to rush through things. We say it as quickly as humanly possible. We get that kind of shakiness in our voice. We're in like get it done and get out of their mode, right? But pausing intentionally and allowing for moments of silence, breathing and having good breathing patterns, and breaking it down into sections. So like, hey, this video, this piece of content that I'm creating is going to have 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points, no more than 3 points, right? So like those can then become the chunks of your content, right? So for the first section, we're just focusing on point number one. That's all you need to remember. Rip that sticky note off your computer when you're done that and throw it on the floor. Now you're going to the next point. Function your way through the content that way and allow yourself to take those moments. I don't know if I really fully appreciated how much of humanity is just breathing, which I know sounds crazy because we have to
No,
breathe
it's
to
real.
survive, right? But like when you're having a moment or a crisis, controlling your breathing can make all of the difference. When you're doing a yoga class, having like good breathing actually helps you to function through the flows better. Same for public speaking and for controlling your breathing and understanding how you're breathing is going to help you calm yourself down, remind yourself that it's not life or death in this situation and get through it. So it's something I'm working on myself. I will say I'm not perfect at this. And I'm probably speaking crazy fast even in saying this, but allowing yourself those intentional pauses and those moments of silence and slower, more intentional breathing is actually really going to help you in a lot of this.
Yeah, well, it's funny. If you ever do it, like I get irritated when Apple Watch tells me to breathe, because I'm like, why are you telling me to breathe right now? And you know why it's telling you to breathe right now? Because it's noticing your heartbeat. And
Yeah.
you never connect those two together. But like when the Apple Watch tells you to breathe, it's normally at the inopportune moment because you're probably tuned up. It's because it's telling you to do that because you're tuned up. And if you take a second and actually do it, it's only a minute, and you let the watch do that thing, you actually feel better. So it's kind of funny. I've always ignored those those things, but I realize now the watch is trying to save you from slapping somebody. So
The watch is like,
Apple is
take
smart.
a breath, take a deep
Take a
breath,
breath, slow it down, right? And yeah,
slow it
it's
down.
super funny. It also Paul just said something. It also gives the audience a second,
Yeah.
especially when people are like taking notes, right?
Yeah.
If they're taking notes in your presentation and you breathe, you give them a second. I think we all learned more about those pauses when you watch some of the best speakers, like how
Mm-hmm.
well they add pauses into their talk. I do the pregnant pauses all the time, right? And when I want you to let it anchor, like I'll hold it and I'll give you a visual cue, right? That's just and yes, it's intentional, but now it's just how I talk in general, right? Because you realize it does give people a second to let that thing sort of hit. So I do like this. One thing also, let me make sure that we cover this. If you are recording in Ecamm, there's a button. It's called pause.
You could pause that.
Hit the,
I never
I
use it.
never
I'm
use that
trying,
button.
trying to use it, but I
Listen,
never use
you
it.
know who taught me that is Diana Gladney, and her videos on fire. What Diana does, which makes it easier because she will talk herself faster than she can think. I will talk myself faster than I can think. Diana says she has her bullet point, right? And so she'll break through. Like, how do you get better at doing these podcast sessions with no notes? Is realize that, well, first of all, it's the internet and nobody's expecting you to do a broadcast level presentation. So the best way to get comfortable is just get used to doing it. And you'll find that works out the best. She'll hit pause, collect herself, start again, hit it. And she says, smile and then don't say something for like 2 seconds before you start talking because then it's easier to cut, right? When you go
Yep.
to cut it back in. When you look at your finished footage in your Final Cut or whatever, there's a clean mark. When you press pause, there's a 5 second like blank area where there's no, audio waveform.
Mm-hmm.
Slice, close, slice, close, slice, close. Or actually, range close, same thing, whatever, how you do use, up to you. And it's just simple. It is super simple. And then all you need to do is take your bullet point and cover the B roll. I mean, use the bullet point as a B roll. Like solid black background and the name of the words. And then you're continuing to talk under that picture and nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's very simple. It is very, very, very simple. And yet, I have a hard time pressing that button. I forget it's there. So when I do
My
catch
panic
myself,
is like off, shut it down. I'm like,
yeah,
I
when I
never even
catch
think about
myself
it.
going crazy, I will hit it. And I have tried to add it more recently because it
Yeah.
is a good way to just reset between your bullet points. And where it comes in the most handy is so you deliver your first point flawlessly, and you deliver your second point, and you start to go a little tangential. Hit the
Hmm.
pause button before you start your third point. Collect yourself, and then get your third point solid again. And it won't really matter that the second is tangential. Don't re-record it. It's probably you needed to say it that way. But
Yep.
if you hold it a second and then come back to it, it's fine. And if you're doing it live and you cover your first bullet point, you say, okay, but that was the first point. Let me get to the next point for a second. And then you go again. Let people see you collecting your thoughts. They don't care. They're like, oh my God, that pimp is just like me. I thought I was the only one who does that. Let the people see you because they came for you. They did not come for, hi, my name is Dave, and today I'm going to show you how to get financially freedom in your 60s. Nobody wants to see that dude. I'll punch that dude in the damn face.
I was just thinking too that like if you again if like you're using a tool like Ecamm, you can also add some like fun transitions. Like you could queue up. Like I could have Doc create for me probably in like minutes because he's Doc, but I could have him create a whole bunch of like really funny silly like faces or one lines or you could pre-record questions in advance and just have them saved as scenes within Ecamm. And so in between your points and as you're taking a moment to pause, just clip and roll that break between your different points, right? So whether that's like a little like the more you know graphic or it's you coming in and asking, a question, you could build in your planning instead of having a script, have those moments that are planned out that give you a break in your conversation to be able to pause and reset and rethink, right? So there's a bunch of different ways that you could approach that to segment out your content to give yourself time to breathe and your audience time to breathe. Um, and now that I'm saying that, I'm thinking about even like fun ones we could do for this show or even for the VHS Club podcast, where you could have fun little like moments and cool transitions and little video clips in between that would allow for more time and space in between. That would, I think, break up the content a little bit more and give us all some breathing space. So
Yeah, I add them in. Use a overlay, or
yeah,
I won't do it to ruin Luis's editing. But like, you can add your little interstitials. Paul has made us random coin drops, or
yeah,
you can throw a little dancing animation. I have a dancing animation when people join the membership that I'll play. Yeah, just do a little quick dance break.
yeah. Pattern
Like it's everybody.
interrupt.
It doesn't. You don't have to actually dance if you're not a dancer. It may be too serious. You're doing grief counseling. You can't have the little dance break. But if say you're doing a video on grief counseling, the way that you would do it is like, okay, and now for the next 15 seconds, we're gonna breathe it out.
We're gonna breathe. Yeah,
Gangsters. It is really, 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 really gangster. So there's definitely ways to do it. I think the first thing to do is I learned this in therapy is you want to notice, pause, explore, clarify, and act. Right.
mm,
So notice that you're having this thing, like
mm-hmm.
is what it is. Take a pause for a second and accept the fact that yeah, you're having it. What next, right? And then you explore what are the different ways you could think about this. Like, I don't have to think about it this way. What's a better way I could think of this? And then clarify your intentions and then continue to march.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so if you do it that way, it makes more sense. You know what I mean? And then it's like, it's okay. Again, it's okay you feel that way. Like, it's probably not your fault. Honestly, most of the things, why I get so frustrated with people and their weird feelings, it's because those are probably not yours. Somebody told you you're supposed to feel that way, and you're just repeating it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do the exploration, what are some other ways that other people feel about it? And I wonder how they feel about it that way versus how I feel about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
am I feeling this because somebody else told me to feel this way, or is this genuinely my feeling? That's what it means to explore that. 9 times out of 10, okay, I can't think of one right now, but maybe you can. There's something that you used to always get pissed about, And more than likely, you heard it from somebody else. And if you really think about it for a split second, like stop and think about it, does it really make you as mad as you think it makes you mad? Or are you repeating a social cue? And for me, this came up yesterday. For me, I'm sorry, it's Saturday, when I used to watch the little kids doing this crap right here. And okay, so today we're going to be on the TikTok. I was like, dude, it's clip magnet. Put it on. It doesn't sound good here. It sounds good here. That's just because I'm an audio person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what Mary Lou said is for them, it's a protection shield,
Yeah.
right? It's a barrier between them and the content. We still don't get, but whatever, pimp, do it.
Or honestly a security blanket. Maybe they're holding it
Yeah,
there
that's
because
that's what I meant. That's
they
what I
want to
meant.
like
Security
hold
blanket.
something. Yeah, they
Yes,
physically need
yes.
to hold the pen, right? Or the
Physical
Sharpie. So
anchor. Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So you see people like clipping on the pen, a spatula. When I
Yeah.
do it, I do it on my fingertip because I'm just being goofy now. Or some people say, well, it's an engagement hack. I was like, if you need to do tricks to engage with people, your video sucks. Right? But whatever. And then I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I really don't care. Like, I can't win this battle, so I'm gonna let it go. I just don't care anymore. And now it doesn't trigger me.
Yeah.
But for literally more than a year, when I saw people doing this, it would drive me insane. And the majority of it was based off of my audio background. The other part of it, I just thought it was stupid. But it doesn't matter what I think because there's people that do this. They got 20 million people watching their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you got to ask yourself: are you holding on to the Audio Engineers Guild of America, which nobody knows about or cares about, or are you just, do you really care? And I found out I really don't care. Like I'd rather care that the Raiders keep winning than care if little kids talk to their microphones in a weird way. And so that's why sometimes, question, why do I feel this way? Because it's probably not yours. It's probably some grandma, granddad, auntie, ex, current, like whatever said to you, none of your damn business. So
Yeah.
let it go.
It is funny. I will say so. I know again, huge thank you to Bruce for sending in this kind of follow-up question to the episode that we did. And again, it is tomorrow is Bruce's launch day for his podcast. So we're gonna all follow up and double check in on him tomorrow. But I was thinking like I did this workshop with Jeff last week for Ecamm, and he was testing out and using a new AI presentation tool called Gamma, which was awesome. And so he did something which he normally doesn't do, which is he had the presentation slides full screen. And then he just kept going back and forth between like full screen presentation slides and the two of us up on camera, like Doc and I are right now. And for the first little bit, I definitely had this moment of being like, oh, shoot, we should really be on screen. Like I was overthinking behind the scenes, like literally as the presentation was happening. And people in the comments were like, this is so valuable. I'm learning like a ton. Like everyone in the comments was loving it. Like it was the best workshop they'd attended in a while. Like the content was amazing and Jeff was nailing it. And we were there present in the moment. But because I wasn't on screen and in my brain, I was like, well, I need to be on camera. This isn't working because I'm not on camera. I'm like, Jeff and I are not on camera right now. And, or as much as I thought we should be, I had told myself that story. So again, Bruce, and I know you sent in a video that went with it and you had your presentation notes, and the video itself looked great, as I told you, and as probably many of you, are feeling. So maybe you're telling yourself the same story that I was there, where you have to be on camera the entire time. Maybe you take that presentation and you allow yourself to shift back and forth between you being full camera and the presentation notes, and that gets you a little bit more comfortable into your end goal. Maybe it's okay that you have a full screen presentation, you don't have yourself on camera the entire time. Maybe that gives you that, security blanket that you need to get a little bit better and to get the content out there, because I know in your specific case, Bruce, that your content is super valuable and helpful to people. You're like really actively helping people that desperately need that content. So if that's the way that makes the most sense to you for right now, go for it. Whereas someone else might, like us, be so used to be on camera all the time that being behind a presentation slide is what's scary. So I'm glad I didn't say anything during the workshop, because I actually think the way that the format worked for that job was the most helpful for everyone, because they wanted to see those notes. So I
Yeah.
do think
And,
getting out of
Floyd
your
had
head is
mentioned this.
important.
Flo had mentioned this in the very, very, very beginning about nobody wants to be read to during the presentation. And so one of the things that luckily I learned in college from my teacher, thank you, Miss Susan Deek at Kapi'olani Community College in Honolulu, Hawaii. She was like, don't put more than 3 words on the screen.
Yep.
And I sometimes I take it down to one or no words at all, just pictures
Yep.
because if they're there and that's a crutch, you're going to read them. You can't
Yep.
help it. Like
Yep.
people in the audience can't help it. And you don't want people reading the slides. You want people engaged and paying attention and absorbing what you're saying. And so a lot of times that it's true if you put all those words on the screen, you are going to want to read them. And what you said about putting it full prezo up, and then that
Yeah.
you can read because can't nobody see you. So
Yeah.
if you have a part that's really hard and difficult, and you want to make sure that it's said properly, yeah, cover it with B-roll, and actually read it line by line. Just
Yeah.
try not to read it. I think it's funny, um, and this might actually be a little bit hilarious. Is if you're like me and you have readers, you could actually flip between the teleprompter character and the person that's just a normal person character.
Yeah.
And that could be the same thing, and you could change it by changing the screen, changing the scene. So right now we have the purple background,
Yeah.
and then maybe we would add the orange background. And so when I'm going to go into professor mode and put the orange background, and I'm going to read it verbatim off the thing, and then I'm going to come back and be like, okay, that dude was weird, but let me show you what this really means. Let me break it down what that statement means, and then you can get into the personal, the touch, the
Yeah.
additive, so you can completely play with the fact that you need to read it
Yep.
and tell people like also thought, guys, listen, there's going to be a lot of fun. In the beginning, there are going to be some train wrecks. You know what it is. This is my first episode. By the time we get to like episode, I don't know, 1300, I'll probably be good at this. But anyway, let's get it. Like, have fun with it.
Yeah.
Everybody who's watching is in your exact same boat with something that they have to do. Whether that's
Yep.
school, work, church, whatever the situation is, they're in the exact same boat. And we all have been to the church where the pastor sits there and reads the entire sermon. And then there's the other pastors like Keith that be moonwalking and dancing, and he got it all in his head, or will sidetrack when somebody mentions something in the audience or whatever. Just have fun with it, bro. Like have fun with it. Like it doesn't have to be serious. And I forgot who told us this, Katie. We were at an event, and they were saying that the one thing to keep in mind is after you finish recording, nobody died.
Yeah, nobody died. I know that did stick with me. I love how without looking at the notes, you literally nailed our entire outline point number 6, which is in the moment reset tricks and quick grounding techniques. If you feel yourself slipping into notes mode, reset with a question to the audience or use energy shifts, which is exactly what Doc just mentioned. So you
Yeah.
like there are games that you can play with yourself and with your audience to get yourself back into the outline that you want to be in, or to just make the presentation more interesting. As Doc was saying, like there these days, people are hoping that you don't show up and just read verbatim the entire
Yeah.
way. They want to spend time with you. They want it to be not perfect. They want it to be interesting and different. So I think that's a great approach. I think even
That's
just
really
talking
cool.
this out loud with you, I've gotten like about 10 different ideas. I'm like, let's close this
in
up.
your
I
in your
got some
own head,
ideas.
right? Like, what if you just said, "Oh my God, I'm sitting here, I'm reading this verbatim, but I really want you to. I want to make sure you get this point from a natural perspective. So I'm
Yeah.
going to put the teleprompter away, and let me say to you what I want to say. Not really want to say, maybe, but let me re-explain that. It works. It completely works. Like it's fine. Like oh my God, I can't. I'm freaking out over here. I'm trying to read this to you verbatim, but I want to make sure that you understand this is a very human connected point. So let me reset and just say it. Like it's
Just
a
say it.
in Clubhouse, right? Okay, we're gonna reset the room.
Yeah. Let's reset
Get,
the room. Yeah.
just do it. Just do it. Stop overcomplicating it. It's so easy to say
Oh.
that. I really understand. And you mentioned something a second ago, and I haven't recorded the video yesterday yet, but I recorded what it looks like to record a video yesterday. And I'm making a video on my channel about stop shooting all over yourself
Mm-hmm.
because you said we should be on screen.
Yeah.
According to whom?
Yeah, I know.
Like that should is not your should, right? That
Yeah.
and the problem with shooting all over yourself is shooting generates shame and hopelessness because again, you're building that filter off
Yep.
of what you think is supposed to happen because some society person told you this or that's what you think all the good people are doing. Well, guess what? You're not good people yet. You're just starting. You're a beginner.
Yep.
It's cool. You cannot go from beginner to, championship F1 driver like you could barely drive in your town. How you going to drive, the Ferrari and the Scuderia? It's
Yep.
impossible. You know what I mean? First of all, the seats are custom fitted for Lewis Hamilton, so I can't fit in it. Like they're molded to his butt, and he's British. He has small butt. I'm Puerto
Yeah.
Rican. I don't. So, as much as I want to drive his car, I can't fit in Lewis's car, right? So yeah, just think of yourself as an F1 driver. You can't fit in somebody else's car,
Yeah.
right? So, after some practice, go karts a couple times, F3, then F2, then maybe I can drive F1. But the dream of driving F1 is out the window. I'm just watch it and say like, damn, Lewis, you're great. I need you to start winning again though, because it's pissing me off. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done for today.
Well, hopefully everyone found this information helpful. And again, like this is why we do this show in a community. So if you want to be part of the community and you're not yet, you can swing over to events, events.ecamm.com. That will sign you up for our newsletter. And you can swing over to ecamm.com/community, and that will show you all the different places where you can connect with us and share and practice and play. This is like literally we tried to make it as safe a space as possible for you to be able to get some of those reps in, get that muscle memory, and know that like we just said, at least, the two of us just said throughout this episode, all of the things that like we did and tried and failed at and got better at. And so it's a process all the way through. So it's not like even after doing it hundreds of times, it's flawless every time. It's still getting used to what works best for you, getting used to what resonates best with your community and everything in between. So great question from Bruce. Thank you so much. And everyone else, keep those questions coming. We're more than happy to dive deeper into some of these episodes on questions and topics that you want us to talk about.
Absolutely freaking love it. That was super cool. All right, so you know what it is. If you want to find out more about the flow, all you need to do is go over to flow.ecamm.com. That's flow.eca2ms.com. And you can, like Katie said, leave us questions, leave us messages, leave us a review. But of course, it allows you to connect it to your favorite podcasting platform so you can get this podcast wherever your podcast getting is got. And we would also like to send mad shout outs and loves to our sponsor, which is Shure. Thank you, Shure, for sponsoring this episode. And if you want to be sure that your mic sounds nice, then go to Shure.com and check out their wide array of microphones that will make you sound cute. And you know what they're doing? Because they've been doing this for 100 years, almost as long as Paul. So go and check out Shure.com.
Oh well, it is definitely that time because now Paul's coming after us, so we've got to get out of here.
You know what we say around here? Flow Riders out.
Out. We'll see you in the next episode.